Hi, Adrian. Thank you for being understanding and willing to work with us on this whole project. Um, in regards to the assignment at large, it was a little frustrating. It was definitely very testing to kind of, um, especially for us that are in the mahogany cohort. All of our classes are online and we constantly have to upload videos of ourselves. So, knowing that it was a possibility to do it in a way that felt familiar and known and not being able to utilize the tools that I am comfortable utilizing and then in a group was a little challenging and frustrating, but I think it was a great learning curve and I'm sure in the future it'll work. But that being said, I think kind of talking about the actual sessions themselves, I took on the role of Fatima, who was it was case number 4, I believe. Yeah, so a natal male who was like very privately dressing as female and felt to be a female, who identified as female, but as a result of both like cultural inhibitions or hindrances, and then also the threat of losing his children and his wife, her wife and her children, was kind of at this really intense crossroads. And I personally chose that case because I have no clue how I would help, or I guess it's I don't even know what I would do to work with the client. I have been really interested in kind of more strengths based practices and looking at expressing gratitude and kind of personalizing or at least recognizing the personal connection within the therapeutic relationship, whether that's calling out countertransference or what that would really look like. But I do think that by honing in on the more human, client-centered connections that you as a therapist have and hold with your client, that it does encourage their relationship. But I think coming from a more individualistic Western perspective, to encourage a client to live in secrecy or with such divisions in which they don't necessarily claim for validation, or it was really hard for me to embody that kind of role play. And so all that I was doing was pretty much like verbatim reading off of like key phrases in the case profile. My therapist during that was Andrea, and she did a really good job of kind of containing the dialogue and putting frames of reference or like reframing what I was saying in a way that was really conducive to kind of exploring the feelings that were coming up and addressing the feelings as I was talking about the narrative. And then as the therapist, I was working with Ekaterina or Ekaterina, I guess is how you pronounce her name properly. And she was case number 1, who is Katie, the 15-year-old natal female who had kind of a history of cross-dressing and this compounded trauma and abuse and assault. And for me, this hit home really hard. I had previously worked with childhood survivors of sexual assault and abuse, and clients who were in the process of transitioning as children and adolescents. And so I think for me, my approach of working with this client was a little bit more on metaphor, realizing that a lot of times with the client adolescents, talking specifically about the problem or the issue or the feelings, you weren't going to go anywhere. It was just complete resistance. And I think resistance is really a client's way of saying this isn't a comfortable entry point. We need to figure out a better way to address this. So I was utilizing a lot of metaphors and kind of a guided meditation to kind of sink into that discussion of how do you embody feelings of safety, or what you're talking about feeling safer or stronger as a male. So where do you currently feel safe, or how can you currently feel safe in your body right now, or is that even a possibility? Or is it safety that's the issue, or is it gender that's the issue, and how are you relating those two things? So Ekaterina did an incredible job of being this kind of nonchalant, really distant, curt kind of client, yes, no. So that felt really like, oh, I totally know how to do this and work with this. I know when we were kind of hashing it out, she was talking about feeling really annoyed that I had let in with this metaphor, and how she personally wanted to like really explore the symbolism in that metaphor, but then realizing kind of that was her personal ideas coming into the character, as opposed to just playing the role of the character. So I think once we kind of hashed that out, we had a definite better understanding of me being like, I get this. There was a method to my madness, even though it didn't feel necessarily super effective to you. I did think a lot of interesting ground was covered. Overall, I did feel a little uncomfortable playing these roles. It felt kind of accusatory, felt a little appropriating. So I don't know how that sat with me, but it also was really powerful and interesting to work with these women who both live in different cultures and have different kind of clinical lenses, and just the way that they hold space as a practitioner in contrast or in collaboration with how I hold space was really very illuminating, and was really impactful. And I'm super sorry that you won't be able to see the videos, but next time, hopefully. Anywho, thank you, and I appreciate your working with us on this, and look forward to keeping on working.